Hello and welcome to Total Data Science. In this tutorial, we will use Python to analyze data from Uber and draw some useful insights from it. By the end of this lesson, you will gain a hands-on experience with Python in analyzing data and drawing some useful insights from it. We're going to check how long do people travel with Uber and what hour do most people travel with Uber to their destination. We also check the purpose of their trips and also which day do people travel the most and what are the number of trips per each day. We're also going to consider what are the trips in the month and then the starting point of these trips. We'll do a lot of visualizations to gain more understanding of the data that we have at hand and then draw insights from each analysis that we're going to perform. This tutorial aims to reinforce your concept of Python and data analysis so that you'll be confident in facing your interviews and cracking them. So let's get started. Now, in order to get access to the data that we're going to use, I've given you a link here that you can easily click and then download it. I'm also going to load it on your resource session so that you can easily access it and practice alone. If you want to use your own personal data, there's a link here that you can easily go to and then access your personal data. Alright, let's get started. Now, before we start, we need to import the various libraries that we're going to use in this tutorial. So I'll start by importing those libraries. Now, since we're going to read data into a data frame, we will need pandas. So I'm going to import pandas. Then I'll rename it as PD. I'm also going to import NumPy because we're going to use NumPy to perform manipulations on the data that we're going to load, and I'll rename it as NP. Then we also do some visualizations, so I'm going to import Matplotlib, and then I'll rename it as PLT. We also need Seaborn also for visualization, so I'm going to import Seaborn. Then I'll rename it as SNS. Then we also deal with date over here, so I'm going to import date time. Then let me see what else we need. Okay, let me import calendar. We will need it along the line. I'll show you what we're going to use it for, and that's pretty much it for now. If we need any other library, we will import it as we progress. All right, so we're going to load our data set, and I have first downloaded my data set. So I go here, then I go to this icon over here. Now I'm going to load it over here. I'm going to get access to it. Then it takes me to this place where I have my data. So you see that I have my Uber drives over here. I just click on that. So whatever you have downloaded it to, you just go there and then you load it. All right. So I'm going to read it over here so that I have it. So I'm going to use PD, that is pandas.read underscore CSV. And inside that, I will need the path of where the data is. So I hover over this, and then you see that there's a 3 dot over there. I click on that, then I go to copy path, then I come here, paste it over there. Okay, that's all I need. Then I store it in a variable. I'm just going to name it as data. Okay, let me print the head of the data. That is the first 5 rows for you to actually see. All right, so let me run this. Good. So this is the data that we're going to use. We have the start date, the end date. That is the date that they started the trip, the date that they ended the trip. So it could be the same day. It could be maybe traveling overnight, and that could cross from one day to the other. All right, and then whether it is a business or it's a personal, drive, right? So that's the category over here. And then the start, that's where they started the journey, right? And then how many miles it took and the purpose of the trip. All right, so this is the data that we have, and this is what you're going to actually use over here. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do here is to check if there are any missing values in there, right? That is, if there are any data that is missing when this data is being collected. Were there any data points that were not available to be included, right? So that's what we're going to check right now. Now, Python identify missing data with NaN. Okay, that is not a number. That is what Python actually recognize a data which is not available. So if you see in our data set that we loaded, you can see over here that there's what is called NaN. It means that data point is not there, right? Probably the person did not input the purpose of the trip, so we don't have any information with regards to that. Okay, so for that, Python represents that information which is not available with NaN. That is not a number. Okay, so we're going to check all those NaNs that we have in our data set to identify how many of them are not available. Okay, so for that, what we're going to do is that we're going to use this. Let me actually do it here for you to see. So I'm going to use data, that is the data that we've loaded, and then I'm going to use this is null. Okay, it's null to see is there any null value there, right? So Python will understand to go through our data set and then figure out all the NaNs that are present in our data set. Okay, so let me run this one. All right, so now if it goes through all of them and it finds a data point that is not available, it's going to output true. But if a data point is available, it's going to output false. So if you notice, here there's a data point over there. Okay, so if you come here, you see that it's false. It means that it didn't find an AN, right? It did not find an AN there. However, if you see this place, right, there's NaN there, and if you come here, you see that it was able to identify that this NaN there. So that's why over there you can see that, okay, it has identified NaN there and it's outputting true over there. However, all the other place where there's data points, you can see that, for instance, this place there's a data point there, and when you come, this place is false, right? Because it did not identify NaN there. Right, so that's what is happening over here. Now the other problem is that it's difficult to count all the truths in there. See that there's another true here, there's some true here, but you can see that it breaks somewhere here. Okay, it breaks somewhere here. We don't know whether there are some truths in here as well. We don't know because it breaks from 4, then it goes all the way to 1151. Okay, so we need to figure out all the truths in this. Okay, so for that we can actually do we can maybe add any, right? So if there's any true in there, then it's going to output true. If there's no true in there, then it's going to output false. So for instance, in this case, when it picked, let me actually do it this way. In this case, when it picked this column, which is the start date, which is this column, right, it checked and there was no data point that is missing, so it put false. Now it checked this end date, it found NaN there, so that's why you see that it's true there. It checked this column, it found NaN there, so it puts true. So all those columns that are having missing values, they are true in there, and those with no missing values, you can see that there's false over there. Okay, so that's what is going to happen. Now we can also count how many of these NaNs are there, right? So we can count them. So for that we can do data dot is now, right? Then sorry for that, for is now, right? Then when we do this one, we're going to do dot sum. Okay, so that it will count all of those missing values in each column. Now you can see that those with no missing values. You can see that there's 0 there, right? It didn't find any missing value there, so that's why over here you can see that is false, right? However, those with missing values, that is these ones that we output true, right? It found 111. It counted 111 in them, so at least there was NaN there, right? But if you see the last one over here, you can see that there was 503. That is the purpose. Most people do not put the purpose of their trip, right? They do not add that particular point of data, right? So you can see that there's a lot of NaNs in that particular column. So that's why you see 503 missing data points over there. What we're going to do is that in this tutorial we will just drop these NaNs, right? We will just drop them. However, dropping the NaN or dropping missing values in your data point should be the last option that you should consider, because whatever the case may be, when you drop these 503 data points, you're losing huge information here, right? Whatever the data is going to tell you, there's going to be some bias in it, because you've dropped some significant amount of information that you were supposed to learn from. Okay, so you should find a different way to make sure that you get these data points back. All right, and there are several techniques to do this, and there's a whole tutorial on this, how to deal with missing values, how to do data engineering, and all those kind of skills that you need before you prepare your data, and finally you draw more useful insight from it. There's a whole tutorial on that, and I've included a link for you here, right? If you want to go into details of how to deal with this, and in fact, in the industry level, that's what you need to do. You need to do more data engineering and dealing with these kind of situations before you proceed, right? And I've given you a link here that you can actually use, right? In this particular tutorial, we're not going to waste much time on feature engineering and feature transformation and all those kind of things, right? We'll focus on what we are here for, but if you want to go into details of how to deal with that, there's a whole tutorial on that, and there's a link here to just click on it, and then you will see how to do with these kind of scenarios. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and then drop this, but as I said, let this be the last option to do. Okay, so I'm going to do data.drop, right? Drop NA, right? And then that's all we need. That's all we need. Just run this one, and that's it. Now if we check again, let me copy the same code that we've used to check how many missing values are there. If we check again over here, now you see that we have all to be 0 0 0 0. We don't have any missing values anymore. Okay, we don't have any missing values anymore. Now what I'm going to do next is that if you see this date that we have here, Python will fail to recognize this as date, right? So we need to format it to the right format. Okay, let me actually do this one over here, data.datetypes. All right, now let me use this one over here to check the various data types over here. Now if you see the start date and then the end date, you can see that Python, let me zoom in a bit. You can see that Python is recognizing it as object, right? But however, we want Python to recognize this one as date, but not object. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to explicitly convert this date to the right format, so that Python will see it as date and not object. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. When I pick the for instance the start date, let me see which one comes first. Start date, yeah. So if I pick the start date, what I'm going to do to it is that I'm going to use the date time that we imported. Remember that when we're loading the data set, we imported this date time. So that's what I'm going to do to deal with this date. Okay, and as I said, there's a whole tutorial on how to deal with date and all those things, right? Date and time in this particular tutorial that I've given you a link here. All right, so I'm going to use pd dot to_date, right? All right, so I'm going to convert it to date time. Then I pick this particular column, is the start date, and then I will specify the format that it is over there, right? So I'll say that format equals in quotes. Then I'll bring this %sign over here. Then I'll say that it should be in month, and then it should be month followed by the day, then followed by the year. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then after that, you see that we're going to have the hour, right? And then we're going to have the minutes. Okay, so this is basically what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other one, right? I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. If we go all the way up, right, we have the day, we have the month, the day, the year, and then the hour, then the minute. So that's what I'm doing, right? We have the month, the day, the year, right, followed by the year over here. Then we have the hour, right? Then colon is there, then the month. So that's exactly what I'm formatting over here, right? The month. You can see that we have the month, we have the day, right? I should put / over here, right? We have the day, then we have the year, then we have the hour, then we have the minute. So I'm formatting it to the same format, but in this case I'm using the date time over here, right, to format it. So I'm going to copy the same thing and do it for the end date as well. Remember, we are doing it for the start date, so I'm going to get rid of the start date. Then I'm going to do it the same thing for the end date. Let me copy it from here. Okay, so that's what I'm supposed to do. Let's run this one and see if everything is fine. Good, everything is fine. Now, let me check this data types again and see if now they are in the right format, right? Okay, now you see that is date times 64, date times 64. That's what we want. Instead of seeing it as objects, right? Instead of seeing it as object, now we're seeing it as date. And that's what we want, right? Now, what we're going to do next is that in the table, right? Let me add a code here. In the table, let's go up. Here, I'm going to extract the day, the month, and those kind of things from these ones that we have, and then put them here. Okay, let me do it over here so that you get to see what I mean by that, because we're going to use them in the further analysis that we're going to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a list for our R, right? I'm going to create a list for an R, and then I'm going to create a list for day. These are just empty lists that I'm creating, but I'm going to put something in there. I'm going to create one for month as well. Okay. Then weekday, I'm going to do one for weekday as well. So what I'm going to do is that if I go into let me do it this way. If I go into the data, right, let's use the start date, right? So if I go into the start date, right, that is each data point in the start date, or each date that is in the start date, right? If you see the start date here, we have several dates over there, right? So for each of the dates, so that's what I'm doing over here. So for X in the date, that's for each date over there. What I want to do is that I want to get the R, right? So R dot, remember that I've created an empty list over here. So I'm going to put something in there. I'm going to append, right? I'm going to append X dot R. So if I pick each of the dates, I'm going to extract the R from it. All right. And then add it to the empty list that I've created. All right. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the day. So day dot append. All right. Date dot append X dot day. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the what should I do for? Let me actually add one more thing over here. Say day of week, right? Something like that. Okay. Then over here I can easily add that one. Okay, day of week dot append. And this one is going to be X dot day of week. Okay, that's what I have to do. And then I mean there are several ways to do this, but this is one of the easiest way to do it, right? So I'm going to do month dot append, right? So I'm just adding data to the empty list that we've created over here, right? So month dot append, it's going to be X dot month. And then I'm going to use the last one, which is the week, right? The weekday dot append. And this one, I'm going to use the calendar to get the weekday. Okay, remember that we loaded calendar earlier on, right? In our library, we loaded calendar, so that's what I'm going to use. Let's go all the way here. So I'm going to use calendar over here, and then calendar dot day underscore name, right? Day underscore name, and in that we want to extract day of week, right? So that's what I'm going to do over here. And then after that I need to add these things to my data set. Okay, I need to add these things to my data set. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to, like the original data set, right, I'm going to create a column named as R. All right, let me use caps so that when you get there you will see it over there. Okay, and then that's going to be the data points that we have appended to this R. Okay, that's going to have that. And then I'm going to create another column over there, and this column I'm going to name it as day. Okay, and that's going to contain the data, the data points that we have appended in the day list. And then in the data sets, here there shouldn't be space here. Okay, I'm going to name another column over here, and I'm going to call it day of, or maybe let me make all of them caps so that you can see the new column that I've added. Okay, day of week, and this is actually going to be the day of week that we created. Okay, then let me do one more for the month, right? So in our data, I'm going to create month, and that's going to be the month that we have. Then we have this one here. I'm going to name it as weekday, and that is going to be weekday. Okay, that's what we have now. Let's run this one and see if everything is fine. Okay, we have some error here. Name weekday is not defined, so let's see where it is that we got it. Okay, weekday is here. Remember here, that was a spelling mistake over here, so I just add K over here and then rerun it and see. All good now, everything is fine, no errors again. Now let's see the data that we have. Let's see the new data in the new columns that we've created, right? So if I do this, check the first 5 rows over here. Now you see that we have hour, we have day, then day of week, then month, and then weekday. Right, this is what we extracted, right? These are the columns that we extracted, right? These are the 5 columns that we've added, right? And you can see that the hour is here. We have the day, we have the day of the week, the month, right? And then we have the weekday. So the month is going to be either the first month, the second month, or the third month, or whatever it is, right? That's what we have here. You can also add the name of the month or convert it to name if you want, right? Because if it is 1, it's January. If it is 2, is February. So you can also map it in that way, right? So let's actually leave it in that way, right? And do the further analysis on that. Now, the first thing that we're going to do here is to check the various categories that we have, right? Remember, we have category here. So you're going to check the various categories that we have. So, and for that, I'm going to use data, and then I'm going to pick up the category, right? I'm going to pick up the category, and I'm going to use this value underscore, right, counts, all right, value underscore count, and that's all I need. So if I run this, I'm going to get the categories. Now you see that we have business and personal, okay, and you can see that business has a huge number here, and then personal has a very few of them. So most people actually prefer business, booking it in the form of a business instead of hiring the Uber as personal, right? And let's actually visualize this using the Seaborn that we imported. So SNS dot count plot. I'm going to use count plot. This count plot will make it more visually appealing over here, so I'm going to use that one. And the data that we're going to use is the category, right? So let me even pick it from here. Let me just copy it from here and then come here and paste it over there. Okay, this is what we actually want, and this is actually coming from our data, right? This is coming from our data. So the specific column that we want to plot, and then where this column can be found, right? So it can be found in our data that we've loaded. All right, so that's all we need to do. Let me run this and see. Good. Now you can see that we have huge number of business cases over there as compared to the personal. So most people prefer booking Uber as a business. Business, when we talk about business here, not that they book it to go and do business, but business means that you book the Uber to a certain destination and that's it. But if you do it for personal, it means you can hire it for a day or 2 or something like that. And most people actually will just book it to get to a certain destination instead of maybe hiring it for a day or 2, right? So that's basically what we're seeing here. Now, what we're going to do next is to find out how long do people travel with Uber, right? So for that, we're going to use the mouse, right? We're going to use, if you go into our data all the way up here, you see that we have mouse there, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to select the mouse. Where do we have it? Okay, over here. So we're going to select the mouse. Let me get rid of it. Yeah, so that it will pop up again. Yeah, then we go inside here and then we select the mouse. All right, you can also type it. If it doesn't pop up, you can just type it. All right, then we're going to use plot dot haste over here, right? And then we run this one. Okay, so that's going to plot this histogram for us. And we can see that most people travel for a short distance, right? For instance, between this 0 miles to 50 miles, right? And then it's quite seldom to see people booking it for long distance, for as long as maybe 300 miles. Right? You don't really see that much. Most people will book it between 0 and then 50 miles. I mean, between 1 and 50 miles. I mean, you can't book it for 0 miles. So obviously between 1 and then 50 miles, right, for a short distance as compared to long distance. So I mean, you see how we are getting insights from this Uber data that we have over here. Okay, now we're going to check what hours do people book Uber a lot, right? So I mean, which particular hours do people like booking Uber, right? Whether in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, which kind of hours do people book it a lot? Right, so let's see how we're going to do that. So I'm going to do it this way. I mean, there are several ways to do that, but this is just one of the ways that we can do. So I'm going to pick up the start date over here, and when I do that, I'm going to use dt.hour, right, to get the hours in there, and then I'm going to count how many of them are there. So I'm going to use the value underscore counts. All right, I'm going to do that. Now when I do that, I'm going to get the hours. Okay, I'm going to get the hours that people travel. I'm going to get the hours, right? The hours that people book the Uber. Okay, then after that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use these hours that I've gotten, right? And then I'm going to plot. Then I'm going to plot I mean, let's do a bar plot over here. So I'm going to indicate that the kind should be bar, right? Indicating that I want to do a bar plot over here. Then I can maybe indicate a color. All these are just optional, right? I'm just going to make it red over here, and then set how, I mean, the figure size. That is how wide and tall I want it to be. Right, so I'm going to do fixed size. Right, fixed size equals let's say 10 and then 5, right? That's the length. It should be 10 and then the width should be 5. All right, so that's fine for us. I can even set the labels, right? So X label, that is on the X axis, right? X label, and for that should be the hours, and I can set the Y labels as well, and that should be say the frequency. That's how frequent people book the Uber. Okay, and then I can also give a title, so plt dot title. Okay, and let's say let's make it a number of trips versus hours, something like that. Okay, so let's run this and see if there are some errors. We create them. Good, there are no errors. Everything worked fine. Now you can see over here, these are the hours, these are the frequency. That's how, I mean, how frequent they book this, right? So and the title is also there. Now you can see that most people book Uber for their trip around the hour of 13, that is the 1 p.m, right? Around 1 p.m, 2 p.m, and also 6 p.m over here, right? 6 p.m here, 5 p.m, right? So that's where people actually take most of their trip, right? That's where people like booking a lot, right? As against 2 a.m in the night and 6 a.m in the morning, 3 a.m, 1 a.m, and those kind of things. Okay, so most people like booking Uber in the afternoons. That is 1, and then 1, 2, and then in the evening, right, 6, and then 5 p.m. there around, right? So that's basically what people do. That's basically, so if Uber gets access to this analysis that we're doing, they will know when to advertise more, when to, send more ads for people to see, and get people to book more, right? So within these kind of hours, people book a lot, and this one, if you, even if you want to offer discounts and stuff like that, this is the hour you need to do it, so that more people will book, the trip. Okay, more people will book the trip. So this is what you have to do in your real world. In the real world workings, these are kind of insights they're going to generate, so that the company will know when to advertise, when to target people, and when to offer discounts for people to purchase more of their products. Okay, and that's exactly what we are doing over here. Now we're going to check the purpose of the trip over here, right? We're going to check the purpose of the trip. Now this is quite important, because if you know the purpose of the trip, you will know which offer to give. Okay, you know which offer to give, you know when to target, you know, what kind of advertisements to run, right? So this is quite important over here. Now for that, I'm going to select the purpose, right? In our data set, we have one column called purpose. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to use the value count to count how many of them are there, right? I'm going to count how many of each of the papers that we have over there, right? Because there are different papers. If we go all the way up here to see the data that we have, right? If you see here, we have different some go for meal or entertainment, some go for meetings, some is just customer visit, some are just some errands and supplies and others. So I want to count all those stuff, right? So that's why I'm using the value counts over here, right? And then when I do that, then I plot it. Right, then I plot it, and I'm going to use bar plot over here. So I'm going to specify that the kind should be it should be bar. Okay, the kind should be bar, and then I'm going to set the figure size. Okay, I'm going to set the figure size to be, say, 10, and then 5. Right, and then I'm going to set the color. The color, let me see which color. Let me just choose brown and see. It's quite strange, but maybe it will work fine. Okay, positional argument follows keyword argument. All right, so we have some error over here. Let's see what we did wrong. Where is it? It's supposed to be fixed size equals. So I missed the equal sign over here. Now let me run it again. Series object has no attribute value. Oh. Value count, come on. All right, and this is also part of the journey. You're going to run into some errors, but when you run into the errors, you do not have to panic. Okay, you just have to figure it out, and then you just have to solve it as you progress, because you're not a magician, and definitely you're going to run into errors as you program, right? And if you don't have the basics of Python, right, if you're a complete beginner, there's a whole tutorial on Python. Now I'm going to add the link here for you so that you can easily get access to it, right? I'm going to add the link here for you so that when you get the notebook, you can easily have access to it. If you're a complete beginner, you can access it, and then you know how to do it. And in fact, in that tutorial, we go into details how to deal with bugs, how to how to solve errors in your data. If you're coding and you run into errors, how to debug those errors. Okay, so how to troubleshoot them and debug them. We treat them into details in there. All right, so I'm going to include that link so that you easily get access to it. All right, now coming back to what we did. Now over here, we were trying to find out the purpose of the trip that people embark on. Okay, now you can see that most people go for meeting, right? So the purpose of their trip is meeting. Mostly it's for meeting, followed by meeting and entertainment, right? And then some errands and supplies, and then customer visit, and then maybe some temporary site that they go to. All right, so these are the trips that most people embark on, right? These are the trips that these are first 4 trips or first 5 trips that people embark on the most, right? The first one over here is meeting. Okay, so now if Uber wants to target a certain group of people, or a certain group of people who go for, book Uber, they actually know that they should target people who go for meeting more, because those are their prior customers, right? Those are the guys that actually book Uber a lot, right? And those are their first priority, followed by those who book Uber for meal or entertainment. Okay, so maybe you can say that if you want to book Uber for meal or entertainment, we are giving you say 20% discount, and more people are going to book it. Okay, because that's where your customers are. Or if you can say that, okay, for your next meeting, we are giving you 10% discount. All right, and that's going to help them to book a lot. Not maybe book any other service, but book your service, because most people book these kind of transportations for meeting. Okay, and these are kind of interesting insights you need to drive. The next thing that we're going to do is which day has the highest number of trips, right? Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? Is it whatever day it is, right? So we're going to figure it out. Right now, we don't know which day we should target and then advertise more, or which day our customers book the our service, right? So let's do that. So for that, I'm going to do data, and I'm going to select the weekday, right? And then I'm going to select the weekday over here, and the same thing, value count. And let me even copy this code and bring it here. All right, I don't need to retype it because it's just the same thing, just that instead of the purpose over here, we are doing weekday. Okay, week and then day. All right, that's the only thing. So let me run this one and see. We can change the color if we want, right? We can change the color if we want, so that it will distinguish it from the first one that we did. So instead of brown, I can make it blue. Let me run it again. Great. Now you can see that Friday is the day that most people book the trip, right? Followed by Tuesday, then Thursday, right? Then Sunday. Okay, so we can actually see that these are the first 3 days that people book a lot Uber, right? Friday, Tuesday, and then Thursday. All right, now and this is great that now we know which day to target, right? We know which day to do most advertisements, which day to give coupons and discounts for people to book more, right? So that's what we've been able to identify. Now the next one that we're going to do is what are the number of trips per each day, right? So on each day, what are the number of trips that people embark on? All right, so for that, let me bring the same code that we're using over here, and instead of purpose over here, I'm going to use day. All right, I'm going to use the day, and that's it. Let me run it and see. Great. So these are the number of days. So on say if you pick say 21st, on the 21st day, right? These are the days in the month, right? All the way from 1st to 30th or 31, right? From 1st to 31. So on 21 days there, on 21st day is when people book a lot, right? When people book a lot, followed by the 18th day, the 29th day, the 19th day, the 4th day, right? And that's quite interesting, right? On the last day of the month, less people book it, right? That's the last 2 days, less people book it. But you see that on the 29th, more people book it. So this is quite strange, right? The last 2 days, people book less, but you see that on the 29th day, people book a lot, right? And then after that, it drops, right? After that, it drops. And on the 21st and the 18th day, people. So we need to figure out what happens on 21st, 18th, and then 29th on each particular month. That makes people book a lot. Book Uber. Uber a lot, right? We need to go into details one more step and then see that one, right? That's another analysis that we can do, and then fetch data from different sources and then figure out what happens on that day, so that we can, maybe it could be some meeting days or something like that people like booking Uber a lot, right? So we need to figure that one out using different kind of data. All right, now we're going to proceed, and then we do what are the trips in the month, right? What are the various trips that people embark on within the month? Okay, so for that, let me bring the same code over here, and instead of purpose over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the month, right? It's actually caps. Okay, so that's what I need to do, and then let me run it and see. Great, 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 great. So these are the months, right? That is from the first month to the 12th month, right? That's from January to February, right? As I said, we could map the names of these ones, and then maybe instead of 12, map it as December, instead of first, map it as January, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now we can see that in the 12th month, that's in December, is when people book a lot of Uber. Okay. That's in the 12th month, the second month, the sixth month, and then the third month, right? Eighth month is the least month that people book. Okay, so we know which month that we're going to gain more profit, right? We know which month our revenue is going to increase a lot, right? We know which month, right? That's 12th, the second, and then the sixth and the third month. Okay, that's when our revenue is going to boom. So from the 11th, 1st, 4th, 7th, 5th, our revenue is going to saturate. It's just going to be a normal pace, and then on the 10th and the 8th it's going to drop, right? But in the 12th, second, and then 6th, we can expect a huge revenue. Okay. Now the last one here that we would like to figure out is the starting point of the trips, right? Where do people start from to go to where they want to go to, right? So for that, let me put our code here, and then instead of purpose, we will use the start. Okay. Don't forget, in our data set we have a column called start. So that's what I'm going to use. And instead of this, I can maybe use what should I use? Maybe let me try purple and see if that works. All right, let me run this one. Okay, we have error here. Start. Let's see in our data set. Is it start? Is it whatever? Go the way up. Okay, it's start, but there's a star there, right? If you see it again, it's start, but you can see that there's some star there, right? So let's go all the way down here, and then add the star. Okay, and then run it again. Great, great, great. So you see that this one, and the names are quite crumbled here. I'm going to expand this one to say 25, right? So that the size will expand, and we will get to see the names, because you can see over here the names are together. We cannot actually identify them. So let me run it again. Good. Now you see that it's looking better, right? Now you can see that most people actually start from, let me zoom in again. Most people actually start from carry, right? And then some unknown destinations that, people don't really identify, right? Because some people will not bother imputing where they are starting from, right? It could be maybe identify me. They just use identify me, and then Google Map will do that automatically. But if those who specifically indicate where they are starting from, for instance, carry is here, and that is the actually the spot that most people, this one is with regards to this data set. If you use your own data, get your own data, as I gave a link over here, right? You can extract your own data, right? And then you can see where you mostly take Uber from, right? And in this case, with respect to the data that we have, most people start from carry, right? Followed by some unknown destination that they don't give, and then Morrisville, right? Morrisville is the next one, and then White Bridge, right? Followed by White Bridge, and then you can see that these are the places most people start from, right? To go. So this is quite interesting, and I hope you've loved this analysis. We've been able to go through this data and draw some useful insights from it, and it's quite awesome. On the real data, on the real world, these are the things that you need to do for the company. You get their data, draw some insight from it, so that they can actually know where they stand and what to do next. Okay, so I hope you love this data analysis with Python, and you've gained more insights as to what to do when you have your data. Okay, in the next tutorial, we're going to perform another interesting project, and you're going to learn a lot from that as well. So see you in the next project. Have a nice day.